You're watching Drakewing Gaming. Enjoy the video.
Hey guys and gals, Never here from Drakewing Gaming, and some of you out on Twitter, the Gaming Drag. Today I'm coming back at you with a Let's Play episode of Polar Night. So let's go ahead and jump right back into it, shall we? Alarm chain, you were up, and let's go! If we're going to search, I suggest we also continue our efforts to summon rescue. Garret, would you be willing to try to repair the radio? You want me to go back onto the bridge? Alone? Someone can accompany you, but without the radio we are short on options. Sure, I can give it a go. I can't make any promises, mind. We can't ask anything more. What about the engine room? Tabby, would you be willing? No, it's too dark down there. If the lanterns go out... Gale! Her sharp rebuke took even Gale by surprise. They really were sisters. I'll try, but I want at least 2 people with me and all the lights we can get. I'm going with you. Gale was firm, already picking up a lantern. Guess we can keep y'all company. I got a flashlight here. This left Sharif, Dana, and Aaron for who would accompany me. For a moment it seemed Dana was going to speak, when... I'll go with him. Now that was surprising. It gave him a quizzical look. In fact, I think everyone did. Look, I'm starving here, so the less I have to move around, the better, okay? Plus, it's a choice of roaming the ship with whatever is out there or hanging out with you. Stop, you're making me blush. He gave me a foul look and Dana stepped between us. Are you sure? Maybe I should... I'm sure. Go find Joseph. Somehow going with Aaron filled me with almost as much dread as going by myself. We sorted into our groups, Aaron and I grabbing a couple of batteries for our torches while everyone else started gathering lanterns and fuel. Good luck. I offered to them and got a few smiles in U2's back, but the fear and shock was palpable. In a way, I was grateful. I wouldn't need to be the one to make the discovery of Joseph's fate. On our way, we paused before a storeroom. If I was going to make any attempted repairs, I'd need tools. Rooting around, I found a butane soldering iron and a toolbox with assorted useful stuff. Screwdrivers, pliers, tape, a couple hammers, a hacksaw. Without even realizing I was doing it, I hefted some of the tools for weight, for its potential to stab, cut, or bash. I felt a pair of eyes burning into the back of my head and quickly dumped them back into the toolbox. As much as I might have felt safer with a weapon, Aaron seemed wary enough of me as it was. The moment I stepped into that awful scene, my nose twitched. The wing door was still open, the blizzard outside already causing a thin coating of frost on everything. It took everything I had not to gag. Time had given the blood time to permeate the air, and the overwhelming stench of iron made my stomach heave. Aaron seemed less overwhelmed, and I was briefly jealous of his less sensitive sense of smell. Aaron looked around in horror and paused by the door. Oh, fuck me, what the fuck? We both stood, surveying the devastation for a moment before Aaron pointed me toward the radio. Thank you. Water time. Let's just get this done, okay? I nodded. Once I was in the radio room, I hefted the toolbox and placed it on the desk by the radio equipment. The radio had been intentionally smashed with a bladed tool, but it was still largely intact inside, as far as I could tell. Maybe whoever did it was in too much of a hurry, or wasn't an expert. Regardless, I put it from my mind. I used a screwdriver to open up the main VHF unit. As soon as I did, a spaghetti of wires and cables spilled out, connecting circuit boards. God damn. What's up? The insides are more complex than I thought. Fixable? If I have power. Aaron perused the toolkit and then wandered off, checking the bridge consoles and stations for something. Where are you going? I tried to keep the minor panic from my voice, as much as I wasn't too fond of Aaron right now, given his finger pointing absolutely did not want to be alone. Now I can hear myself think. As he shuffled about, I went back to the radio, though my ears were scanning hard for any stray noises. I put the torch in my mouth as I pulled a screwdriver from the box. Working away, I pulled at wires and took mental note of the parts that had survived being obliterated. The more I examined it, the more my hope built. Whoever had attacked the radio hadn't done a very good job. While I could see the damage had been enough to render it inoperable, it was definitely fixable, provided I had the right parts. The main concern was power, though. A radio like this wouldn't work with standard disposable batteries. Here! Aaron's hands presented a bunch of assorted batteries in a variety of sizes. These work. Afraid not. We need something bigger. How big? 12 volts, something like a car battery. Mixing a bunch of disposables won't give us the power we need. That lot was all I could find, I'm afraid. I rolled the batteries in my hands. They weren't in great condition, and prolonged sub-zero temperatures might have drastically reduced whatever charge they still held. I doubted even if I somehow joined them in a circuit I'd get enough power to turn the radio on, let alone get a message out. I'd need a larger battery. But I figured I'd cross that bridge when I came to it. I'll see what I can do, thanks. I continued to work. The soldering iron worked, miraculously, and as soon I was connecting the severed sections back together with reconnected wires. Not pretty and certainly not safe, particularly in an environment like this, but as long as we could get a distress call out, I'm sure we could all live with it. So, who do you reckon did it? His question snapped me out of my focus, but it was his tone that took me by surprise. Accusing. I looked up from the radio and met his eyes. The look he was giving me told me everything. His arms were folded, leaning in an apparently nonchalant manner against the wall, his eyes burning into me, no warmth. Why? You must have a theory. No, I don't, and I don't care right now. I'm trying to fix this fucking thing. I huffed and turned back. I wanted to rise to his bait. Liar. A mix of fury and indignation boiled inside, but I forced myself to keep it contained. I snubbed him, turning back and forcing myself to concentrate on the radio, even though my hands were shaking with a mix of the cold and anger. Just saying, if something happened to me, you'd be the only suspect. That's when I heard it, the quaver in his voice. Are you scared of me? He twitched, his face briefly a picture of shock before it twisted into a snarl. He balled his fists and took a step toward me. I'm not scared of a what? No, I was stood too, towering over him. Scrawny little mummy's boy mutt. For a moment I simply stared, blinking at him as I processed what he'd said. Then I smirked. The fuck are you grinning at? Couldn't help it. It was such an absurd situation. The ball of anxiety in my chest so heavy I couldn't even begin to take him seriously. Is that the best you've got? He stood, staring me down with a mutinous glare. If I hadn't seen him nearly shit himself at least twice now because of my temper, I'd be convinced he was about to punch me. As much as I wanted to give him a taste of his medicine, the familiar fear scent permeating the room told me everything I needed to know. Aaron, I'm too scared, mate. If you told me you weren't scared, I'd call you a liar. Just don't. Don't psychoanalyze me. I'd rather you snarled like a fucking savage, to be honest. I cringed. The memory of how I'd scared him back in Svalbard hit me with a wave of guilt. Look, mate, I'm sorry. I'm sorry for snarling at you. Just sometimes... I spread my hands helplessly, not sure what to say. Some of us don't have the luxury of claws or fangs. You mean like Joseph? A pang of irritation shot through me. He didn't have fangs or claws, but he was built like a fucking tank. But that didn't save him, did it? Aaron finally looked away, biting his lip. He rubbed his arm, shrinking a little. I guess I'd gotten through. Aaron Joseph was... He could have gone against Rufus and won. Probably. I gestured to the carnage around us. And yet his body is gone and his blood is all over the fucking room. You don't know if it's his blood. So where is he? I don't fucking know! We both stood in silence. I think even Aaron was surprised by his outburst. After an interminable pause, we both moved away, me back to the radio, Aaron slowly leaning over a nearby station, head bowed and ears limp. In, count to 3. Closing my eyes, I did my breathing exercises before getting back to work. I don't know how long I worked, neither of us speaking. I don't think Aaron moved from his spot the entire time. Eventually I stood, knees cracking, and I stretched. It wasn't pretty. It would definitely have gotten me fired from any electrician job, and with good reason. But as long as we could broadcast and receive, we should be good. All we needed was power. Hopefully Tabby could do something in the engine room, although I wasn't optimistic. For all we resented Joseph for the state of the Sylvia, we really could have used him right now. Do you think... Is she still here? I blinked. I'd almost forgotten he was here. Who? I turned, anxiously anticipating another argument, but... Oh, he's crying. Okay. Tears poured silently down his face. He was hunched over the station, eyes fixed on a collection of what looked like charts. I was speechless. I'd never known how to comfort people, to tell them what they needed to hear. I always thought I'd come across as insincere, but... He screwed his eyes tightly shut and let out a soft whine. You mean Carrie? He nodded, burying his face in his hands. I mean... Fuck, what could I even say? She could still be here. I mean, we haven't found, anyone yet. He didn't respond, simply rested his face in his hands. He sobbed noiselessly, his shoulders shaking. Whatever lingering resentment I had melted away. It was easy for me to forget that, and like me, he'd been here of his own volition. A desire to clear his sister's name and even possibly to find her for better or worse. I just couldn't stand the idea of people hating her, blaming her. His voice shook. I took a few tentative steps towards him before slowly, gently placing a hand on his back. I tried a few times to say something, but each time my words just rang hollow in my own head, so it stayed silent. I miss her so much. I was about to speak when I heard, or rather felt, a noise. It drifted across the room like a breeze and chilled me as much as any blizzard. My body tensed. A shiver went down my spine as I realized someone or something was behind us near the doorway. Moments passed as my mind raced. I needed to turn. I had to warn Aaron. I had to run. Whatever had gotten Joseph, it was back. The harsh, rasping noise, followed by the sound of ice crunching, finally pushed me over the edge. I spun around, yelling and waving my torch. Garret, what is it? I finally contained my flailing enough to affix my torch beam on the entrance leading back to the stairwell. And just for a moment... Hey, I'm talking to you! He gripped my shoulder and pulled me around, his face still wet with tears, but now his eyes shone with fright. Did you hear that? Hear what? I pulled away sharply, shining my torch at the doorway, the beam shaking wildly in my trembling hand. I saw it. I know I did. Garret, you're scaring the ever-living fuck out of me right now. What did you see? This time he shone his torch beam around, circling the doorway as though checking that there wasn't something that had snuck in. And I don't know. I know I heard it. If I hadn't been petrified, I'd have been burning with shame. But my instincts were on high alert. Every howl of wind, every creak of exhausted steel, my ears picked it all up. Fuck only knows what Aaron's radar-like ears was detecting at this point. Then it hit me. If Aaron wasn't detecting any noise, maybe... Okay, let's both take a look, yeah? This time he seemed to be the brave one. He gave my shoulder a squeeze and pointed, directing me to move across the door. My heart felt like a fucking jackhammer. Slowly we both approached the doorway, aiming our torches. I wished he'd held on to that screwdriver, as pathetic as it would be against whatever had gotten Joseph. With a nod, we both darted in front of the door, shining our combined light beams through the entryway, where I'd seen that awful thing. And nothing. I could see the narrow passage leading down, and not a single sign of anyone. For a moment, neither of us spoke. Slowly, we looked at each other. Aaron's face was the picture of terror, and I can only imagine what mine was like. Then, Aaron snorted. I did so too. Within moments, we were both giggling before breaking into full-blown laughter. You massive fucking cunt! You had me! I thought I was sure! Felt like an evil spirit flowed out of me. I was still scared, sure, but the intense, imminent death feelings evaporated, leaving me and Aaron giggling like a couple of crazy people in a blood-soaked room. Oh, goodness. Fuck, man, I'm sorry. I could have sworn. Listen, why don't we rely on our nose and my ear... on your nose and my ears, yeah? He gave me a little smirk, and while I caught his smugness, I didn't really care. Really, I would have preferred to have confronted whatever I thought I'd seen. Did you fix it? What? The radio, did you fix it? Aye. So we can call for help. Well, if we can get power, like I said, we need... Uh-oh. That's bad. Alright, y'all, I'm going to go ahead and pause it right there. We will save that extra mystery for the next video. Thank y'all so much for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, ring that notification bell, and check out our Patreon if you can. It always helps. Before I go, I'm going to give a quick shout-out to our lovely bronze tier patrons. Thank y'all if I do for the channel. We greatly appreciate your support. Thank you to our silver tier patron, Cade Silverman. Thank you for going a bit above and beyond. It's greatly appreciated. Thanks to our 3 gold tier patrons, Zach, Toby, and Blue Wolf, Zeke, Toby, and Blue Wolf Alpha. Y'all are awesome. We love you. Thank you for subbing to Ultimate Tier anyway. If y'all want to get your names and credits, get access to all of our Safe for Work content as little as $5. If y'all don't want to use our Patreon, you can always donate using Super Thanks on YouTube. Anyway, I love you all, and I'll see y'all in the next video. Bye-bye!